Welcome to Bunny Hugs and Mental Health, the podcast that deals with all things mental health. We talk to professionals, survivors, and loved ones about their sometimes informative, sometimes uplifting, and sometimes tragic stories. I'm your host of the show, Todd Rennebaum, advocate, recovering addict, experienced sufferer of depression and anxiety, and author of the children's book, Sometimes Daddy Cries. Hello and welcome to another episode of Bunny Hugs and Mental Health. I am Todd Rennebaum. Thank you so much for checking out this episode. Thank you if you've been listening from the very beginning. Thank you if this is just your very first episode. Just thank you so much for listening. And I really hope that this podcast is making an effect on the stigma around mental health and mental illnesses and trauma. Because a lot of people have been very open and vulnerable in speaking with me on the podcast. And, you know, that's the whole point of this podcast, really. Not the whole point, but it's a very big point. What an amazing episode we have this week. I am speaking with Michelle from Schizophrenic NYC. But first, I want to tell you about next week's episode. I'm speaking to a lovely young lady who goes by the name Trash. She finds that going by the name Trash is empowering, and it's also one of her most beloved personalities she has. Trash has quite a few different disorders, but the one I really was talking to her about was her DID, or dissociative identity disorder. It was once called split personalities or multiple personality disorder. It's now DID, and we just have a really great conversation. She's a really, really, really sweet girl. Normally you can follow her on TikTok at Totally Trashed, but her TikTok is down right now. And you can follow her on Instagram at Totally Trashed. But, you know, try TikTok too. Now, speaking of TikTok and Instagram, you can follow me in the podcast at Bunny Hugs Podcast on TikTok and Instagram. And on Facebook and Twitter, Bunny Hugs and Mental Health. And you can leave questions, concerns, comments, questions for guests I've had, whatever. And we can have a little chat and start, have a little community, and maybe I'll read your comment or question on I want to say on the air, but it's not really the air, in the intro of the next episode. And while you're at it, why don't you tell a friend about this podcast? If you like it, if you find it interesting, you find even one episode interesting, tell somebody about it. And let's grow this community and support one another. Help those that may relate to the episode or to someone else's story, and to educate those that have no idea at all. So please go ahead and tell people about the podcast. Now, this week I am speaking with Michelle, who lives in New York City, and she has schizophrenia. And she's also a graphic designer. She designs clothes and buttons and all types of stuff. You can follow her Linktree and buy some of her merchandise, and again, help support someone. We talk about how she was diagnosed, the stigma, some of her clothing line. We talk a little bit about sports and how mentally ill people are not really dangerous. There's a lot of stigma out there right now, a lot of gun violence in the States. It's not the guns, it's the mentally ill people, and we have a pretty good discussion about that. So without further ado, I give you Michelle.
When I think back, I can remember my first symptoms of schizophrenia really being called out was when I was at soccer practice. I had this really mean kind of just drill sergeant coach who would just kind of call me out on things like, pay attention, who are you talking to? And he would laugh at me, and he'd be like, Michelle's just talking to her imaginary friends over there. She's not even paying attention anymore. So that was the first time I really look back is that, anyone ever called me out for talking to myself. I also remember like being in physics class and I'm cracking up at nothing. And a girl turns around and goes, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "What?" She goes, like, "What are you laughing at?" And I'm like, "Oh, I have no idea." And I also remember being in like, math class and a girl said to me, like, "Who are you always talking to?" And I'm like, "What?" She goes, "You're always talking to somebody. Are you on the phone? Are you just talking to nobody? Like, who are you always talking to?" I'm like, that kind of stuck out. And then I always had this, like, one of my best friends was always talking about that time. Remember when we were in the pizza place and you turned to the wall and you smiled and laughed at it like somebody was there? And I was like, what? She goes, it was so funny. So I had all these like things that I think back to now that were totally symptoms of schizophrenia that I didn't realize I had at the time. So, I also like struggled and fought with my mom and stuff like that. She tried to bring me to get help, but I was always, had that paranoia where I just didn't trust any kind of therapist at all. So I didn't speak. I was just stone faced them the whole time. But when I got to college, because the whole thing was that I thought like my mom was out to get me and all these things, and I thought she was doing things purposely to hurt me. I just had all these just weird paranoid thoughts about her. So I go to college. I think I'm free of the whole thing. She's gone. I'm cool. Things cool for a long time. Well, a few months or maybe a month at least. And then I start thinking all those same paranoid thoughts about my roommate that I thought about my mom. And then I was like, wait a minute. Why would my roommate be doing all those things? Why am I thinking these same things about my roommate that I thought about my mom? And then it just, clicked in my head. Oh, there is something wrong with me. It was really me the whole time. And that's when I was like, okay, let me go to the health center, figure some stuff out. And they told me within 15 minutes that I was bipolar, and here's a pamphlet. And then go see the school psychiatrist. Yeah, that didn't work so well. Ended up in the psych ward twice my freshman year for like suicide attempts and once my sophomore year for suicidal tendencies. So then I decided I needed like a real therapist and like try to get, some real stuff. So in college, I was pretty much diagnosed bipolar or depression. And I was on like one medication, you got to take it 3 times a day. And if you missed it, you just got angry and you went nuts. So that was that. And then after college, I was trying to like be more honest and open with a doctor, and I described myself as and I got diagnosed with schizophrenia, which I thought I was like, oh my God, I'm so devastated. I have schizophrenia. No one's gonna love me. Like everyone's gonna hate me. So I went out to dinner with like the same people I lived with for college for like 4 years. And I was like, dude, guys, all right, got something to tell you. I found that I have schizophrenia. And they were all like, isn't that what you had the whole time? Like that could not have been more obvious. Like we would catch you talking to yourself all the time. Like we pretty much said that to you. Like duh. So I was like, if my best friends already knew and like didn't care, why do I care about any negative reaction I have with people that I don't even really know or like? So I was like, whatever, you know?
Right. Yeah. I don't, this has nothing to do with it, but what did you take in college?
Oh, I was a graphic design major and I had a minor in business communications. And I got my business classes. Somehow I got really good grades in them because my teacher messed up. He gave me an A one time. He gave me an A. The thing is, I told him they had the grades online and everything. And I'm checking my grade for the class of this business class, and it said I had 110. And I'm like, that's not right. I'm going through all of it, and my participation grade said 700. I was like, that's probably supposed to be 70. And I go before the final, I'm honest with the guy, and I said, hey, I checked the grade online, and it says my participation grade is like 700%. And he makes a note. But then I got my report card, and it said A. And I was like, he never changed it. But you know what? What am I supposed to do now? Because it would have been an F. So, you know, I told him I did the right thing. I just didn't tell him afterwards because I was honest. I tried to be honest as possible, but was like, okay, fine, whatever, dude.
So you're terrible at business.
Well, it wasn't really my, all we would do is he would just play the slides from the textbook And I would just bring my computer and go on my computer, like whatever. It was boring. Whatever. And now I run a business, but I did terrible in my business classes somehow.
All you did was watch The Apprentice.
I have a coaching license in women's lacrosse, and I was the TA of women's lacrosse, which was all of my teammates were in the class, and then I sat there as the TA. That's what I did. And I answered the questions that nobody else knew the questions of. I would just answer questions. And there was just one random girl that was in the class. And then if they did group work, I always had to work with this one random girl that didn't know anything.
Huh.
That's what I did.
So that was your college.
That was my college experience. I wore a lot of sweatpants. I wore a lot of sweatshirts. It was freezing in upstate New York. Yeah.
Did you party, drink, drugs?
Of course. No drugs.
Okay.
I'm not into drugs.
No. Okay.
It's not my thing. I saw many drugs. I was offered many drugs. Well, to buy.
Right.
Not for free. No. No. I could have done an abundance of drugs, but that's really not my thing. Because when you already hallucinate, you don't want to hallucinate more.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
Not
even weed?
Not in college. I was an athlete, I need to breathe.
Oh, right. That makes sense. Were you good at lacrosse? It's a Canadian sport,
I do know it's a Canadian sport, and people never believe me. When I say it's the national sport of Canada, they go, no, it's hockey. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's lacrosse.
I'm from Canada. I don't know if you knew that.
Well, I know now because you knew that, because no Americans believe me when I tell them that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the indigenous people.
Yes, it's the indigenous people sport. And they would do it, no boundaries, and they would like kill each other. It was
neat.
They would beat the crap out of each other with their wooden sticks. They would beat the living bejesus out of each other. But we don't do that. Well, I would always say, if the ref can't see it, it's not a foul.
Right.
If the ref can't see
it,
so
you're just sneaky about it.
The ref can't see it, it's not a foul.
I watch a lot of football, and I wonder why there isn't more pinching. Because that'd be hard to see.
I was told, somebody told me that when they're in like the big smush on the ground, when they're all fighting for it, that they're all pinching each other.
Oh, they are?
That's what I was told.
Or tickling.
I don't know. I think football is so stupid. It's like, yeah, you're big manly men, but you're wearing tight pants and you're wearing large pads. Like, really? You're so strong, but you have to wear big ass pads. Yeah, okay. You know how many hits I took? Please. People smashed into me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you get paid for one position, whereas lacrosse, you're all over the field.
Pretty much. Well, I was the lowest defender, and I beat so many 2v1s. I would destroy a 2v1, which is me and the goalie and two of the other girls. She's running down the field. And now I'm like, a 2v1 again. Really, guys? Why'd you put me in this position? Really? And now I got to break this again. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks a lot. Leaving me in a 2v1. Thanks so much.
I don't know what 2v1 means.
Oh, two
versus one.
One defender and two attackers.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I figured it out.
Yeah, so I would have to break a 2v1 and I'd be like, really? Why? Why are you doing this to me again? But I would break 2v1s all day.
Huh. Do you think your mental illness helped with that, or had nothing to do with it?
Well, I would always make sure I had it. The thing is, my coach would be like, I can tell if you've taken your meds within like 1 minute of talking to you. Do not come to practice or anywhere near me if you haven't taken your meds. Which people were like, coach is making you take your meds. But I'm like, that's a good thing. So like, I don't know what the complaint is.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Someone's looking out for me. How dare they?
I know. What's the bad there? What's the bad? She's making you take your meds. I'm like, she's making me be stable. Like, shut up.
Yeah. She wants me to do well.
Well, I know. Right. Like, yeah.
So what is life after sports, or do you still play?
Well, I was playing in this post-collegiate team in New York City, and then I was also playing on a flag football team, and I was running after the person with the football, and some dumb idiot comes and cuts me off, and I strained my MCL. So I was in this big air leg cast thing, and I could barely walk, and I had crutches, so I had to stop playing for a while. And then I was just like, I'm done playing. I'm just like, I'm lazy now. I just stopped. And I was like, the game of girls lacrosse got a lot different. Like the rules changed and now there's younger people. And I'm like now old. I'm not like good at, I was good, but now I'm not good.
Right.
I used to be good. I mean, maybe I could still break a 2v1. I don't know, but I'm not sure I want to try.
You just would never do it again. You could do it once. What is your life like after college, after sports, being having schizophrenia?
Well, okay. So, like, for 5 years, I worked in the corporate New York City design. Like, and if you work in New York City, like, you are so replaceable so easily. So, I had like 15 jobs in 5 years. I was fired from every single one of them. But doing that, I was able to build my own business because I had so much experience in a bazillion different fields. Like I worked in like wine and spirits, like web design. I worked in sports, like for the New York City Marathon. Like I worked at that company. I worked in like radio station, kind of like hip hop radio station stuff, where I had to make like really like urban stuff. Like it was interesting what I had to make, a lot of Jay-Z and like and all it was interesting. I'll just say that. And I had to work in law for a while. Like I'm telling you, I was well rounded. So when I had to like build my whole thing, like I knew how to do so many different things because I had so much like experience with so many different kinds of just design. So people are like, how'd you build that where did that website come from? How did you do that? And I'm like, oh, I knew how to do it. I just knew how to do it. They're like, but you knew? I'm like, yeah. So how did you? I'm like, no, I knew how to do it myself. I built my whole website myself. And people are like, oh, really? Wow. How did you know? So like that was the good thing that came from the bad thing. But like, so yeah, I just couldn't work in corporate New York City, like 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Like that's so much, especially for someone who's schizophrenic and you just like need breaks. Plus, one time I was working somewhere and then I got brought into HR and like HR knew that I had schizophrenia because I had missed the deadline for health insurance. But then I was like, wait, I have a severe mental illness. I have severe chronic illness. I need health insurance. And I brought a letter from my doctor. So HR knew because that's fine. But I had a bunch of issues with some stuff. So my boss was saying, you said you weren't on the phone, but you were talking like you were on the phone. And I looked at HR and she was just like, Brayden, you're gonna have to just dismiss that. But he's like, but you said you were on the phone, but you looked like you were on the phone. So it's kind of like, what do you do in that situation?
So usually HR would know you're schizophrenic, but your employer wouldn't.
That was the only HR that knew. That was the only time I
Oh,
ever had any like issue.
hmm. So you weren't like upfront every time you get a new job, be like, hey, by the way,
I
I'm schizophrenic.
No, because not everywhere I worked actually even had an HR.
Right. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do you think any of your jobs, like other than that one, do you think some of your other jobs you were dismissed because of your mental illness?
It could be. It could because there's also sometimes symptoms. Sometimes you just get confused, things like that. And also just working all day for someone with schizophrenia is really, really hard.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just not the easiest thing. It's just like you need a break, you need a nap, you need to relax. Just that 1 hour for lunch doesn't just do it. And I'm not saying you can't work if you have schizophrenia. I'm just saying it
Hmm.
makes it more difficult. So it just didn't work for me. That's why I decided to do my own thing and come up with my own brand, Schizophrenic MIC. Therefore, I could just do my thing and run my business and get all the just like the joy from running my own business. Because also when you're working for other people, you do all the work and then like the creative director gets the credit. And it's like, great. I'm so glad the creative director is so, happy with how I did my work.
Yeah.
And they're getting, oh yeah, you're the creative director. Yeah. Congratulations to you for hiring me to do the work
Yeah.
for you to be happy about yourself.
I know a few graphic designers and different yeah, graphic designers. And even in a small city, Canada, it's like it's not even worth working for companies because they're like, yeah, you're replaceable quickly and like you get paid the shittiest wages and you were basically just like, yeah, a peon.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, if you have any creativity or anything,
And then
you
everyone
just,
thinks they could be a graphic designer because it's like, oh, I know how to use Canva.
yeah.
Congratulations. You can use Canva now. Nice. Nice.
What do you think of my logo?
Your logo over there. It's very nice. It's good bunny hugs. I like it. Got
I
some
made it.
bunnies.
See,
Mhm.
I could be a graphic designer.
Oh yeah, everyone. And I love when people they'll show me like, oh yeah, look at this logo. My friend made this logo. It's really great. And I look at it and in my head, I'm going, that's the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. And I go, it's very nice. You just gotta like say things like that, even when they're disgusting.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I used to be a musician, and people call me a music snob. And it's like, well,
I know
no,
many music snobs.
it's just I know what's good.
What's funny about music snobs is like they have like what they like, and then everything else is bad. You know?
Right. I respect other genres that I don't normally listen to if it's good,
Yeah.
but if it's bad, it's just bad.
Right.
And it's true. It is all subjective, really.
It is all
But
subjective. It's like you can't like anything else because it's bad, but this, it's good. But it's like, but I don't like that. No, you're wrong. You're wrong. This is what's good, but I don't like it. No, it's good. You don't know what's good. Oh, sorry. Okay, fine. Sorry.
yeah, that's me.
Right. Yeah. I didn't know what was good, but now you're playing what's good, even though I don't like it. But I guess that means I don't know what's good then. Okay, fine.
Even though it's obscure and it's like
Right.
weird screams and yeah.
Right.
Anyway, you know what? I love on your Instagram that you have security footage in your apartment, and that you show people what schizophrenia really looks like.
Yes.
What made you want to be so vulnerable and open and want to do that?
Well, the original thing was that like I was explaining to my psychiatrist that I couldn't stop talking to myself. And he was like, well, what does it look like? What are you doing? So like I just took a video one time where I just had my computer open, like recording like that photo booth thing. And then like it like ended and I was like, I don't think I got anything. Let me just review the tape. And I reviewed it. I'm like, what am I doing? Oh my God. So I like put it on YouTube, but I set it to like private and I sent it to him. And he's like, you put it on YouTube though. I'm like, no, it's on private. Don't worry. But then one day I was like, I'm just going to make it public. So I just made it public and then like people watched it. And then I was like, okay, so I want to get more videos, but what can I do? So I just got like I went on Amazon and I got like a little security camera because people are always like, how do you have this pointed at you at the right time? And I'm like, it's a stupid security camera I got off Amazon for like $30. Like, relax yourself. And also, I'm constantly accused that it's fake. People are like, this is acting. Like, it's not acting. Why would I post it if it was acting? Why would I be faking it if I was acting? Because if I could acting, I could act. I could make them so much better if I was acting. I could do it so much better if I can make them look so much crazier if I was acting. Some of them are not even me doing much, but if I was acting, I could make them absolutely berserk. But like yesterday, I posted one on TikTok and I got a bunch of comments that I was like, this isn't schizophrenia. Girl, just go to bed. And was like, yeah, this is definitely acting. Why would I post it if I was acting? Why would I want to be called out as an actor?
Do you respond to those comments?
Sometimes I just block people, or I'm like, then why are you following me? Like, I don't understand. Exactly. You're following me just to be mean. Like, I just block people sometimes. Why is this video? It jumped from 4,000. Like yesterday, it had 4,000 views. I checked it today. It had 25,000 views and a whole bunch of people telling me to go to bed and then I was an actress. Like, why does it have views then?
Well, at least it's getting views.
I'm just saying, but like I'm saying like the bad things, but I'm just saying it bothers me so much when people are saying that they're fake. No, they're not fake. Because if they were fake, they wouldn't be so stupid. Like there's one of me eating ravioli, shoving my face with ravioli while I'm having an episode. Why would I ever share that? I look like a pig. I'm like, I realize this is a podcast, so nobody can see what I was just doing. Physically, I'm shoving my face with ravioli while talking to myself at the same time. Why would a person share that video?
I mean,
I'm just saying, if it wasn't real, why would I share that? Because I look like a fool. You know what I'm
well, what's
saying?
the advantage of faking that?
There
I
is,
don't get
I
it.
don't know, but I know there has been fake TikTokers. There was one I saw like this girl fake Tourette's. Like that's really messed up.
Huh?
The thing,
Okay.
but what's funny is like when I've been called fakers before, I had this old roommate. She was like, "Listen, like I live with you. I know you're schizophrenic. They could just call me because I confirm it."
Other than the fakes, have you ever had other like negative stigma
Just in
thrown upon
life.
you from people? Yeah, yeah.
I mean, always, like a lot of times, like I tell people, yeah, I was like, yeah, I was a lifeguard for 6 summers, and they're like, you were really,
But you're
you were
schizophrenic.
a lifeguard for 6 summers. Um, okay, it's like they think in their heads, like I just get that look, like you watched kids in a pool or a lake. What? Eh, what? It's like, how did you do that? And I'm like, what? What? They don't say it, but you can see it in their eyes of
Yeah.
you were a lifeguard. I can tell you that I never had any issues, no issues, no drownings, no one almost drowning, no one doing anything wrong, no one running on the dock, no one telling everyone to no, don't run around the pool. No problem.
Because you were on shift and they were
Yes.
like,
Yes.
she's schizophrenic. We have to be
That
on
was
our best
before I was
behavior.
diagnosed.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm a bit of a smart ass, by the way.
Yeah.
You know, I was in the psych ward. I've been in the psych ward a couple times. And I met a guy, speaking of Tourette's, he was a 17-year-old kid who was schizophrenic with Tourette's. And he was an interesting dude. I had to convince him to take his meds. Actually, the nurse was like, here you go, Bobby, or whatever his name was. And he was like hyper paranoid.
Uh-huh.
But he liked me for some reason because I'm so charming. And I'm like, nah, don't worry about it, dude. She gave me some too. They were really good. And he was like, oh, okay. And then he took him and the nurse winked at me. So,
I was in the psych ward and I left with 5 guys' numbers.
not what?
Yeah. Not a lot of girls in the psych ward where I was at least.
Yeah, there's a lot of.
There's a lot of creepy men in the psych ward.
I didn't. I was in there for about 2 weeks. I did not give my number once. So, there you go. So, I'm not the creepy guy. But I got 3 dudes' numbers. I'm kidding. Hello, everyone. Just a quick break here. I hope you're enjoying the episode. I want to tell you about a really great podcast called A Sober Story Podcast by my friend Emily. She is charming, she is witty, she's clever, and she's just a great host for a podcast. And not to mention, she was also a guest on this very podcast a few weeks back. As someone who's 6 years sober himself, I can tell you everybody's got an interesting story about how they got sober and an interesting story about what they were like when they weren't sober. So I'm begging you to please listen to A Sober Story Podcast by Emily. Another great podcast is Rainy Days Podcast by my friend Jason, who was also a guest on this podcast a little while back. Jason speaks with all types of people dealing with mental health issues, professionals, loved ones. It's basically a lot like this podcast, only it's done with a fancy British sounding guy because he's a fancy British guy. So that's cool. Hey, you should listen to that Rainy Days Podcast. So listen to those, rate and review them, and find them anywhere podcasts are available. So when you take your meds regularly, can you still get these episodes? Like, it's not
Yes.
foolproof, the meds?
Yeah, the meds aren't foolproof. They help a lot. They do help a lot, but I still will just start talking to myself for no reason. Happens all
And
the
you have no
time.
recollection when that happens.
Not usually. No, I usually notice when it's over because I just go into a different world. Yeah.
Hence the security footage.
Yes.
Was that, well, it seems like you are fairly lucky, I guess, that you've had positive people in your life to be to allow you to be open. You know what I mean? Like you said, your friends were all like, "Yeah, we knew you were schizophrenic," and like no one jammed out on you, or you were, which made it you comfortable enough to actually post these videos and talk about it and be open. Whereas other people, it's very.
Well, I mean, it took a while. I mean, from diagnosis, I would say my mental health journey took me about 10 years to finally be comfortable, talking
To
about
accept
it.
it. You're right. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense then. Do you talk to other like advocates of schizophrenia?
Yeah,
And have you met online or in person or?
both.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I guess you're in New York, so I'm in the middle of nowhere. So it's like I have to travel 8 hours to meet someone else that advocates. Um, yeah, have you ever heard of Saskatchewan?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, that's where I am,
Yes,
middle of the
that's where the
prairies.
Sasquatch is.
No,
No?
no. Sasquatch is in like West Coast, but they might be related somehow. The name of my province and Bigfoot. Uh, do you mind having a schizophrenic episode right now so we can see what it's like? Go.
It doesn't happen like that.
No, I can't do it on command.
Can't do it like
Huh. That makes me think maybe you're not faking. So what is your like? So you say you work for yourself. Your brand is Schizophrenic NYC,
Yes.
and is that just graphic design, or is it also the advocacy and everything? It's all tied
Yeah,
in
it's all
together.
the advocacy tied in. Like Schizophrenic MIC is just I would say made by me, schizophrenic New Yorker, trying to change the way the New York City sees mental health, especially the mental homeless. It's all about getting the conversation started because the more we talk about mental health, the less stigma there will be. I usually have a pop-up shop or I sell online just at schizophrenic.nyc. It's like a bunch of different t-shirts. I sell like all kinds of pillboxes, totes, mugs, looking around the room to see there's artwork, there's buttons, bracelets, stickers, magnets, all kinds of things that say like don't be paranoid, you look great, or it's not a delusion, you are incredible, define normal, I'm mentally ill and I don't kill. And I talk to all kinds of people when I pop up on the street. I meet all kinds of amazing people and it's just a lot of fun to do.
Um, and you make a living
Yeah,
doing that?
yes I
Like that's
do.
your full jam?
Mm-hmm.
How much is rent in New York?
A lot. It really depends where you live.
Do you live in Manhattan or whereabouts are you?
I live in Queens.
Do you mind me asking how much rent is in Queens?
It
I'm just
depends
curious
where
for
you
my own.
live. It depends where you live.
Okay, okay. Because they say Saskatchewan's expensive to live, but it's actually the cheapest place in Canada, and people in Saskatchewan don't realize that. So rent here is like $1,200 a month, averagey.
For how much? For how big is your place?
Well, I actually own my house in a small town, so but I we paid for I think 135,000 for our house.
Yeah, houses here are not that much. I was walking around, or I mean, are much more. I was walking around Astoria. That's where I live in Queens, and there was like a sign for a house, but they're attached houses, and they don't have much of a backyard. I just like, let me just call, and they said it was 1.3 million.
Huh. And so you bought it.
Oh yeah,
You paid
yeah.
cash.
Yeah, I bought it in cash, totally. But they said they were like, well, the seller will negotiate. I was like, not to my price.
Some free shirts and a hat.
Yeah, really. They're not going to negotiate to what I want to buy it for, so it doesn't matter. I don't have
The
anywhere near
shirt
that kind of money.
the shirt I love of yours the most. Well, I don't know if I love it the most, but the one that maybe I don't know, affected me the most maybe is the one that says I'm mentally ill, I don't kill. Because being Canadian, you always hear about these mass shootings and stuff in the States, and then people are like, oh, it's not the guns, it's this person was mentally ill.
I can't even with that. They're so stupid. These people are so dumb. Like, they think that to stop gun violence, we need more guns. Has that helped so far? Like, has it helped? No,
Well, there's not
not at
enough
all.
apparently.
No. Like
No.
like
Oh.
why are people allowed to have like assault weapons or whatever? Like why are people if the like you've heard like in Uvalde, Texas, the school shooting with the elementary school, the cops were too scared to go in because the shooter had an AR-15. So if the cops are scared of the gun, why are people allowed to have that gun?
Well, maybe the cops need bigger guns.
Good point. Why didn't the cops have the bigger gun? Shouldn't the cops have the gun that
Hmm.
the shooter has or something? So, like, stop blaming it on the mentally ill. Why don't we not allow people to at least have an AR-15? I know they don't want, they won't give their guns away, but they won't take their guns away. But why don't we just take away the guns the cops are afraid of at least?
Hmm.
All right. We won't,
Hmm.
compromise because I know about like the Newtown shooting about those kids. They tried to get the magazines to be less, so like less bullets, and they
Hmm.
said it didn't get passed.
Hmm. So even setting a limit to how many people you could shoot without reloading.
Was not it didn't get passed.
Huh.
And that was the last time little kids got killed in
Uh, d- so do you think some of these shooters are mentally ill?
there's a problem. It's gun violence. There's a way to fix the gun violence by making more gun laws. But instead, they're not doing that. Why?
Mucho dinero.
Right? Like like cigarettes are bad for you. So they taxed and taxed and taxed and taxed and taxed. So why are they not making it harder to buy guns?
Hmm.
Right? Like,
Or like Chris Rock says, make the bullets $10,000 each.
oh, it was $5,000.
Oh,
But
okay.
that is my favorite thing ever. That I love that stand up. Like there'll be no like he says there'll be no like people like shot by accident if you make a bullet
Yeah.
$5,000. I think that's brilliant. Make the bullets more expensive. And, like there you go. There's a way to do it right there, and they don't even do it. Right? There's so many things you can do to try to prevent gun violence, and they're not doing anything. And then you want to blame it on mental health, yet they're cutting budgets for mental health care.
Right.
The
Right.
governor of Texas cut the mental health care budget by 50%.
Which I'm assuming wasn't that high anyway
Right. He cut it
before the
by
cuts.
50%. And gun problems there are rampant. Uvalde, Texas, they're killing kids. But let's cut the mental health budget by 50% and blame the gun violence on mental illness. Don't you see how that makes no sense?
Yeah. Well, it's all about fear. It's about blaming someone else. You need someone lower. You need that. I think. I don't want to get too political,
You know
so
what
I'm
they
going
were
to stop
saying? They were
there.
saying like have one exit for a school. Therefore, the one entrance and exit for a person, so a person can't just come in. Do they not know
Mm.
like what fire safety is?
Yeah. Right.
Right? Board up all the windows. This is a school.
Yeah.
They were like, well, the
Yeah.
back door was propped open. It's a school.
Maybe they should arm the teachers.
Oh,
Have they thought
yeah,
of that?
yeah. Now it's arm the teachers. Yeah, that's a great idea. Next thing you know, a teacher's going to kill all the students or something. You're not doing your homework? Sit down in your seat, Johnny.
The teacher was mentally ill.
Right. Yeah. Now that yeah, wouldn't that be funny? Like the teachers now are just killing the students. They're all armed. Oh, we froze. Did we freeze?
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, yeah. Okay, we're back.
okay.
And we're back.
And we're back.
Last we were talking to Michelle, we were talking about teachers shooting children.
Like I know so many teachers, a lot of people that went to college with their teachers. I can't even imagine them trying to use a gun.
Right? Like that
Like
is
I
like
have a friend who if she tried to get a gun, she wouldn't. I can't even imagine. Oh, I just the visual of her trying to figure out how to use a gun would just get her shot.
right. Yeah. I teach kindergarten. I don't want to use an automatic weapon.
Yeah, yeah, right. It's just so
Can you
dumb. It's
imagine
so
at
dumb.
the firing range? It's like a bunch of police officers and teachers training. Yeah, bizarro. I didn't mean to get into a whole
I
gun
know, I know,
issue
I
debate,
know.
but
But it's just
I did want to
so
get into your shirt. I'm mentally ill. I don't kill.
right. Because
Yeah,
they're all there's it's a mental health issue. Well, stop cutting the budgets then,
yeah, yeah. So fucking fix the mental health issue then.
right?
Yeah,
Have a lot housing for people with mental illness, they'll bring them to the hospital, but no one's paying the bill for them, so they just let them go onto the street.
yeah. And how many of these shooters are like have actually been like mentally ill? I'm sure some of them
Because
have, but like a lot of them are young white guys that are
they're all young white guys. They're all young white guys. What is going
they come
on?
from like stable homes and good homes or whatever. And I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I don't want to create
I don't really
enemies.
know what's going
Enemies.
on with that. I don't even understand. And now the Parkland shooter who shot everybody when he was in high school, he's up for
Hmm.
the death penalty. He made a speech and he was like, I can't even watch TV anymore. Either can the 17 people you killed. And then I was watching
Mm.
something on YouTube where there's like a video of somebody faking like a psychosis and faking schizophrenia, and it's him um just in the interrogation and how he's trying to
Yes.
fake being psychotic.
Right. I've seen some of these before.
Yeah.
Yeah. They don't even do it right. Do your homework if you're going to fake.
Yes. Don't watch
Watch your
my
videos.
videos are real, but if you want to learn, you want to
Yeah.
learn, just keep watching my videos and then you can figure out how to fake it because that's the real one. But maybe if you
Yeah.
act like me too much, people will accuse you of faking because I guess mine just looks so fake apparently.
Yeah. You're not
Mine are too no, too crazy to be real. I don't know.
not crazy enough,
Not
maybe.
crazy enough, apparently. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, um, has anyone ever hinted or made comments about you being violent or possibility of being a violent person?
People have like asked questions like, "Are your episodes ever violent? Do you ever get violent?" And I'm like, "No, I don't get violent. I don't get violent. No." Like years and years and years ago, if I was mad at somebody, I'd be like, "Oh," but like so many people are like the same thing. So many do this. So many. I know people with no diagnosis that are like way crazier than I ever was, and like they'll get into fights. I don't fight people.
Yeah.
You know, I may, egg on people and annoy them and try to like piss them off. Like in a lacrosse game, a girl tried to fight me. I didn't fight her. Just laughing at her.
Right. Right. Yeah. I know a lot of dudes that get drunk and fight every time they get drunk.
Right. Yeah. I've never been in like a legit fist fight with somebody, because of like schizophrenia. Like that never caused any like fist
You're
fights.
just trying. You're just trying to teach Hebrew. I just remembered your
Bad
post.
post. Yeah. This dumb bitch, she doesn't stop. She doesn't stop asking me. She's so
Okay.
annoying.
So,
So, how do,
so a
so
little backstory here.
yeah,
Michelle posted that. Was it your last video that you
it
posted
was
that
like, yeah, my post I posted yesterday.
you were like in an argument talking to yourself in an argument, but it's usually because you're trying to teach someone that used to go to high school with Hebrew and
Well,
they're not
it,
picking up on it or something.
it's this girl that I used to work with who was so mean,
Oh,
I can't stand her. And she's constantly asking me what different words mean in Hebrew. And so many times I'm saying to her, I don't know. Why don't you just Google it? And she's like, oh, okay. Did you? And she'll be like, so how do you say honey in Hebrew? And I'm like, I don't know. Devesh, Google it. And she'll just be like, bubby or bubby, bubby or bubby. And I'll be like, bubby is a darling. Bubby is a grandmother. And she'll keep asking me it over and over again, saying it's the same word. I'm like, no, it's not the same word. One is a booby, one is a bubby. And she goes, that's the same word. I'm like, no, it's not the same word. Think of the word boogie, think of the word buggy, then to replace both those G's with B's. And she can't understand it. And I explain it to her over and over and over again. I can't stand this girl. She's so annoying. She won't go the fuck away.
and this is
It's constant. It's
reoccurring.
every day. Every day she doesn't go away. I can't stand her. She's so annoying.
Well, why her? Just because you dislike
Because
her
I
so much?
hate
She
her.
just
Because I hate her.
right,
Because I just hate
right,
her so
yeah, yeah.
much.
So you're like obsessed about her in a way.
I obsess that how much I hate her.
I obsess about people I hate too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I should obsess about people I love, but I don't, for
Yeah.
whatever reason I don't. It's like, yeah, I have a former coworker that's still stuck in my head. It's like when I'm doing something, it's like I still hear the criticism. It's like, why do I go there? I don't have psychosis or anything, but I mean that voice, and I imagine him going, "You're doing that wrong," and it's like, why the fuck do I do that? So it's
Mhm.
interesting that that's what your psychosis goes to.
I know. And then sometimes I think that, like, is she following my social media and knowing that I'm talking to her all the goddamn time? Because that would make her so happy.
And that's the paranoia.
Yes.
Yes.
I hate her.
Let's get her.
I hate her so much.
Non-violently, let's get her.
I hate her. She can fall
What's
off
her
the edge of
name?
a cliff. I'm not telling you her name.
I know.
She's not worth it.
Text it to me.
She's not worth a name. She's not worth any
Okay.
name.
Was this as an adult you worked with her, or as a lifeguard as a kid?
As an adult,
Mm, mm, mm-hmm. Adults are the worst. So you vape? That's my next question.
I try not to. This thing is like dead. I got this. I went to Philly and I bought this, but it's like just dead now. I don't even know this brand. I never had this brand before. I went to Philly and the homeless people there are much different.
Oh,
They were
how
just
so?
different. They didn't just like
Better?
sit on the side, beg for money. They were more walking around. They walked around a lot more than the homeless people in New York City. New York City homeless people kind of find a spot to sit in. These ones were just
Hmm.
more walking around. It's different type of deal. And Philly's so much
Hmm.
cleaner than New York City.
Have you met homeless people that you were like, oh, this dude has schizophrenia?
Oh, all the time. But it also could be a
Hmm.
drug binge, going off drugs.
Hmm.
They kind of got that happens a lot. But yeah,
Right.
there's 5 or 10 guy. I always know this guy. He's 5 or 10 guy because he always goes, "Do you have a 5 or 10? Do you have a 5 or 10?" But I know him that he's not homeless. He lives in a residence. But I know that he's a crackhead because I know the guy that lives across the hall from him in a residence, and he says that guy just smokes crack all day.
Hmm. But there is, I guess, drug induced.
Yeah, he
Um,
he he is out of touch with everything. This dude, five or
right.
ten guy. I don't know what his real name is.
I know of people who have drug induced schizophrenia with even marijuana.
Yeah, that can totally happen.
Is is it like is it like the schizophrenia is like it's in their DNA already, and then the drug use brings it out in them, or is it fully just because of the drugs? Do you know?
I'm not entirely sure. I would think probably it's like maybe dormant inside you and it wakes it
Dormant, that was the
up,
word.
you know?
Hmm.
But I think that the weed it can do when it just makes you really, really, really paranoid, like really paranoid. And I think that's what
Hmm.
brings it out. But then they just keep smoking weed and it gets them more and more paranoid, or then they maybe try harder drugs and stuff like that, and it gets them more and more paranoid. And then they just go into this whole psychosis type deal and just spirals into just no, just not good.
How are your do you have a good relationship with your parents,
Yeah, it's good. It's
and they're
good.
supportive of your
Mm-hmm.
business and everything you're doing?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Your hat, did you design that?
I did design this hat, yes.
Okay, because you have a lot of very colorful clothing. I notice on Instagram is where I follow you, but
Yes. Yes.
I should follow you. Actually, what is your handle on TikTok?
It's
I want
actually
to
the
follow you on
same.
there.
It's schizophrenic.nyc.
Oh, oh, okay.
Yes, it is. Yes, it
Hmm.
is.
So we talked about some of the negative feedback and people faking and stuff. Have you heard some really positive feedback? People
Oh,
calling
yes.
you a hero and that kind of stuff.
Yes, I get tons of positive feedback. People be like, thank you so much for your videos. They really help me understand my, son, daughter, father, sister, or whatever, like thank you so much. They're really helping. I get amazing feedback and it's really makes me feel good. So like that always, brings me up and stuff like that. So
Yeah, that
like
stuff is
that's great. it helps me. It helps people
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what keeps you going a little
Yeah,
bit.
and then they're like, thank you for being so open.
Well, it is very rare that you, because I've been wanting to do an episode on schizophrenia for a while. It's like it's hard to find anyone on social media that's open about it and willing to. Because I've messaged a few people and they just either don't respond, or I don't know if they even see my message or what. But you responded like within an hour. I was like, oh my god, thank God. Why didn't I? Again, like I said, I thought I had contacted you in the past, but I guess I hadn't. But so I very much appreciate that. I appreciate that you know, are so open about it, because a lot of people aren't. And the way to end the stigma is to be open.
Yeah, just talking about it. Because if nobody's open about it and if nobody knows like what people really go through, they're just going to make assumptions. And if you just listen to what doctors say, doctors just kind of get what they get with from their patients, but you don't really
Mm-hmm.
know what's going on in the patient's actual. You have to hear from the person all the time. If you
Mm-hmm.
just hear from the doctor, you don't always know what's really going on because you don't know what the patient is really always saying to their doctor. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you gotta get it from the source. That's what I think is from the from the primary source research, whatever it is. Get it from
Mm-hmm.
primary source, not from other people just talking about it. I get so many messages about like people's like how do they deal with like their family member that's like paranoid and not listening to them and not taking their meds, not doing this, not doing that. And like that's the hardest question to answer because a lot of people that are diagnosed and they don't want to take their meds, they're blaming them, they're paranoid, they're doing all this, they're thinking everyone's out to get them. And I hate to say, it's not gonna be easy. I don't know how to answer that question. They have to you just somehow get them to take their meds and they're not going to always be the same person they were before, you know. And maybe if they don't like their meds, maybe they need to switch meds. Not everybody's going to like the first meds they're going to be put on. And if they're saying they hate their meds, maybe they hate their meds because it's the wrong meds. Also, it
Mm.
might be easier to be med compliant. Sometimes they have the shot that you just get a shot and they feel better because it's hard to be med compliant, especially when you're first diagnosed.
Right. Yeah, I have a friend that her sister diagnosed with schizophrenia, and she's super duper, or she was anyway, super duper paranoid. And then they would take her to the doctor, and then she would just act completely normal. So the doctor's like, I don't know what you people are talking about. She's not really sick at all. And so it's like she knew how to play the game. She knew how to manipulate the doctor and whatever. And so I can only imagine how absolutely frustrating that would be. Have you done that before? Like, were you non-compliant with taking meds and stuff, or have you been pretty?
I mean, when I was younger, I was non-compliant with taking meds. I didn't want them. I didn't think I needed them. But then I realized that my life was better when I took them.
Hmm. And how did your parents get you to take them?
It wasn't my parents, it was my lacrosse
Oh,
coach.
oh, ah, aha. Because you like playing, but you couldn't play or practice unless you took them. Okay, good. Um, do you have a podcast as well?
I have a
Because you have a really
podcast.
nice mic.
Yeah, I have a podcast. I'm a bipolar schizophrenic on a podcast that I do with Gabe Howard. We kind of just do little short seasons of it, and we're bringing it back in 2023.
Oh, okay.
So you can still find the episodes up, but we're not currently recording right now. A bipolar, a schizophrenic, and a podcast. That's what it's called.
Thank you so much, Michelle. It's so amazing that you record yourself in these episodes and are so willing to share them to really end the stigma around schizophrenia and to just be so open and vulnerable. You're a very brave lady. So thank you so much. Thank you for speaking to me. Thank you for listening, everybody that's listening. And thank you for my next week guest, Trash. I have a hard time calling her Trash because it's such a negative sounding word, but she says it's empowering, so I believe her. Trash, who has DID or dissociative identity disorder. So check that out next week. She's an amazing young lady. So, all there's left to say is make your beds and take your meds. Bye.